Bong Joon-Ho is one of the most daring and consistent directors of our generation, blending social commentary with murder, capitalism, and of course giant pigs. I watched every Bong Joon-Ho movie, so you don't have to, but maybe you should, because most of these movies are pretty great. I think out of every single movie on this list, this was the movie I was most excited to see. And when I watched it, I was like, this is fine, it's whatever. And the more time it sits with me, the less I like it. This is a very straightforward monster movie about a giant creature killing a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? The journey isn't very fun, if I'm gonna be honest. The payoff and ending for this movie is very weak and sad, which isn't super exciting because the rest of the movie is pretty depressing as well. This movie also has a tendency to drag, like more than any other Bong Joon-Ho movie on this list. To give this movie credit, there are a couple gut-wrenching, heartfelt scenes. It's so bright out here. I can barely see. This is awful. The social commentary on imperialism feels a lot less focused than a lot of other Bong Joon-Ho's movies. And there might be the classic Bong Joon-Ho tropes and camera angles, but this lacks all the personality of the other movies on this list. To me, it just feels like a basic monster movie, and you might not want to hear that because I know a lot of people love this movie. Most of the action scenes fall very flat for me, except for the one near the beginning, which is probably the highlight of the entire movie. And this movie also looks super duper ugly, giant CGI creature aside. This is the only movie on the list that I'd go as far to say I actively dislike. But if you think I'm missing something, say it in the comments because I genuinely don't get it. Barking Dogs Never Bite is Bong Joon-Ho's first feature-length film, and it kind of feels that way. There's a lot of promise in this movie, and you can see a lot of the elements that'll come up for a lot of Bong Joon-Ho's best movies. But this feels more like a landscape for someone to play around with new ideas rather than a full movie. Nothing here feels very fleshed out. It feels like there are a bunch of little ideas that Bong Joon-Ho is touching upon, but not really sinking his teeth into. A bunch of little ideas being taped together into this big tape ball, and the tape ball is called Barking Dogs Never Bite. There's a lot of dog abuse in this movie. I don't know how they did that because it looks very real. I know that there were no dogs harmed in the making of this movie, and I'm not sure what Korea's animal protection laws for filming are, but to me, it looks very realistic. Like they made me really think that they hurt some dogs. You can tell here this is a director trying to figure out his first movie. I don't think this is a bad movie. I just think on the scale of Bong Joon-Ho's filmography, there are a lot more interesting choices. Okja is probably the funniest and maybe the least serious Bong Joon-Ho movie, which isn't a bad thing. I think it works well here. I don't think you could watch it with your family necessarily, but I think it's the closest he's come to a family type movie. A lot of the humor is very hit or miss for me. There's a lot of like millennial and poop humor that just like, it doesn't hit. This is one of the most blatant commentaries from Bong Joon-Ho about the farming industry, which I think he does really well and creates a touching story. When I first watched it, I love this movie, but I just think in the scale of Bong Joon-Ho's filmography, as well as just the more time it sits with me, the weaker this movie is. I will say this movie does have some great characters though. Jake Gyllenhaal is super funny. All the Letterboxd comments talk about how they want to have sex with Paul Dano. I think my biggest gripe just comes from the imbalance in tones here. The comedy scenes don't always land for me, especially with the poop jokes. And they'll jump into seeing like a big pig get tortured for 5 minutes. I still like this movie. I don't think it's awful. I think it looks beautiful visually, and the pig itself is kind of a cool creature, but I don't see myself going back to this anytime soon. This is the most recent Bong Joon-Ho movie. It's also the last one I watched, so there might be a little bit of recency bias talking, and probably has more going on than any other Bong Joon-Ho movie. This movie juggles like 5 different subplots, and the one about the vials is kind of forgotten, and I think that goes to show how much messier this is than most of Bong Joon-Ho's movies. Robert Pattinson might be the best part of this movie. He is amazing and kills it. For a lot of this movie, Robert Pattinson is doing this meek, like, I'm just a boy type voice. And I didn't think it worked at first, but the more the movie went on, the more it aids the story and the more it helps out and it makes sense, and he does a really good job. I've seen a lot of commentary about the villain, Mark Ruffalo's character, and I think he's such a bad villain. He's too goofy, he's too evil, he's too over the top. He's not very interesting. I recognize the point of his character. We've just gotten a lot of villains like this recently, and I think this is one of the weaker executions I've seen. I'm gonna say this like a million times this video, but it leads to a very weird clash of tones. This movie asks a lot of ethical dilemma questions, which I think make it worth talking about. It also really enhanced a lot of the experience of this movie for me. This movie also does a play on a very oversaturated movie trope at this point, but it works here, and I think it's done creatively. Also, Bong Joon-Ho has a tendency to make some of the best love plot lines I've seen, and this is by far my favorite. This movie is probably a little bit less accessible than Okja, but still definitely worth your time if you're interested. Snowpiercer is probably the most overtly flawed movie on this entire list. I don't care, I really like it. I've seen theories about this being a sequel to Willy Wonka, which I really want to believe. I'm going to choose to believe them, even if they're not true. This movie has a ton of plot holes that I think hold it back from being an amazing movie as opposed to one that I just really have dumb fun with. But I will say this movie has all the plot points of an amazing screenplay, and I think it tells its story very, very well. The train itself makes almost no sense, but it's such a creative setting and it gives this movie so much personality. It makes each car reveal and step forward in the movie feel exciting, like, ooh, what's gonna be behind this next door? This also has some of the most on-the-nose commentary for any Bong Joon-Ho movie, which social commentary is just like, it's kind of a given at this point. I don't know though, this movie, it gets me excited and motivated. It makes me feel like I'm a part of a revolution. My biggest gripe with this movie is there's the setup to this awesome creative action fight scene, and then it's all in slow motion and poorly filmed as well. It's such a disappointment. But the movie more than makes up for it in my eyes. It builds tension and scale super well. The world building is at its strongest here, and I don't know, I guess I'm a sucker for a gritty action movie because I really like this. Memories of a Murder. This is the second movie I had seen going into this video. This is definitely the most straightforward Bong Joon-Ho movie. And coming off of Barking Dogs Never Bite, everything here feels so neatly organized and concise. This movie is emotionally draining and hilarious. It's terrifying, and this entire movie, despite just looking beige, it feels beige, you know? Memories of a Murder doesn't have a lot to say on a larger scale as opposed to the rest of the Bong Joon-Ho movies. As a viewer, you feel like trapped in this town. Other than just being about a murder case, this movie is about obsession and passion and losing yourself to something greater, which is a common trait in a lot of my favorite movies. I love the ambiguity here, but I get people who don't. The lead detectives are hilarious protagonists, and I can't help but really enjoy them. You see the breakdown of these characters, what make them shitty detectives, what make them fantastic characters, and it really makes this story. This also has probably my favorite scene in any of the Bong Joon-Ho movies. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's near the beginning, and it's when the head detective is trying to pick between the murderer and the innocent guy. Mother is probably the movie I can talk the least about, even though I have the most to say. This is an example of the less you know going into a movie, the better the experience is. When I've talked to people about Memories of a Murder, a lot of them are frustrated with the ambiguity behind this movie, and I think Mother is a very tasteful response to that problem. Everything here feels so perfectly planned and intentional. There's not a wasted second here. The way this movie unravels itself is seamless and perfect, and it feels to me like the first time Bong Joon-Ho created something that is so fully realized in full circle, like something he was building towards for a long time. I love this movie, and I really think this is a must-watch. You gotta check this out. I don't think anyone will be too surprised that Parasite is the top of my list. It definitely didn't surprise me because I made the list, and so I kind of knew it was going to be number one. This movie makes me wish that Bong Joon-Ho used color more throughout his movies because this movie is very colorful and beautiful and scenic. It makes sense why this is the top of every best film of the 2010s list because there's nothing wrong with it. Like this is a perfect movie. Bong Joon-Ho tends to blend different styles and tones throughout the same movie, and I think it's sometimes a hard balancing act, but this movie, it really perfects it. Like it gets every single thing down. I think the social commentary is the best out of any of his movies here. It's funny, it's a thriller, it balances like 3 different genres. For how like detailed and meticulously planned every single element of this movie feels, everything also feels very seamless and effortless. There's a scene in the middle which completely tonally shifts the rest of the movie onward. I've never seen a movie create that exact same effect. It's unreal, like it's amazing. I can't say enough positive things about this movie. You should watch it, subscribe,